Good evening and welcome to the Sultans of Shadilay podcast. Spoon will be with us shortly, but for now I am joined by Second Plague and Trim. So, just before we jump into tonight's Lotus Eaters aftercast, after party rather, just some shameless self-promotion. First up we have a poem, an original poem read and written by Spoon. That is on my YouTube channel. We also have a lovely essay by Spoon, The Insidious Hand of the Road to Hell. You can check that out on his Substack. There's a link to that down in the description. And, of course, our good friend Trim has started a Ko-Fi, so anyone who is interested can commission art similar to the style you see on all the Sultans of Shadilay images, etc. Other than that, if you want to support the podcast or me directly, there's also some more links down in the description. So, moving right on to Sultans of Shadilay. Spain is kicking the crap out of illegal immigrants.
Approve. Really, I do.
Yeah, so what is going on with that? Because I got to the podcast late this morning.
Seems like Spain is basically saying no to illegal immigrants when they try to cross over the water, so basically kicking them out back into the water so they can't cross the border.
Yep.
Because if they cross the border... Oh, shit, sorry.
Chad Spanish soldiers just yeeting criminals back into the ocean. You swam here, swim back.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's this law in EU, which if you manage to cross the border, you are instantly eligible, I think the word is, for asylum. Now, Spain don't want to deal with that, so they're just basically having their border guard just kicking them back out. And you can see in the streets outside, they're like running through like a scene from 28 Days Later.
Yeah, it's utterly ridiculous. Their border's just inundated. You can see on some of the pictures that there were rows like 4 or 5 deep all along the length of the fence.
I mean, it's tragic when they bring in kids to this, but the thing is, where are the kids? I just see a bunch of 20 to 30-year-old men.
Yep.
Well, I mean...
Oh, apparently it included about 1,500 minors. I would be willing to bet that by minor they mean people between the ages of 14 and 18. And they're all going to be male. Except for that one kid who was damn near drowned by their own parents.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean...
Yes.
Hey, just because they've biologically been around for, like, I don't know, 20 or 30 years, doesn't mean they can't identify as 5 years old.
No, that's transageism, and that's a map thing. Get in the wood chipper.
There are certain individuals who would like to know your number.
The FBI would like to know your location.
Also a guy starting with the name V. And he's not a Romanian guy.
Well, you know, chat, once we bring about the socialist revolution, then we can lower the age of consent because the power imbalance between children and adults will have been largely done away with in the absence of the capitalist structure.
That was such a good imitation that it literally made my blood boil. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I'm working on that one so that I can like send it into the podcast. I don't want to do it without Sarg on there, so I have like about 9 days to practice. So I think I should have something pretty good by the time he returns.
Yeah, because he's taking another break soon, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going back on his holidays. Clearly, he must have just gone bored. That, or he was like, okay, I forgot that being home meant I have to deal with a screaming 5-month-old.
Oh man, sometimes work is a blessing, believe me. Hashtag, I want to get back to work.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. So, the good news is, at least like they said, that the Home Office is deporting those two migrants. I still can't get over how pathetic the police were in that. Oh no, we'll just walk away when we're. What'd we say? Bring back the constabulary?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, the police in general is starting to just get more and more pathetic around the southern and middle edges of the EU, in my opinion. I mean, I don't see much police with standards anymore, or fucking spines.
No.
You're just getting too soft.
And look at how many police there were compared to the crowds. A little bit of tear gas, a little bit of batons, problem solved.
Yeah. I mean, it's as if people are afraid of just using a strict hand. I mean, what happened to that? If I, in my childhood, had been a direct, let's just say, I would have been a very rude child, to put it mildly, the kind running around breaking stuff. Uh, let's just say my parents would have been very clear about my, what's the word? Oh, come on. Disciplinary actions, that's it.
Indeed. And there's an interesting quote from the lawyer representing Mr. Singh. Yes, because that's a traditional Muslim name. He has said he had been in the country since 2008 and has a right to a private life, a family life. Yes, he does. In India, get out. And I see Spoon has joined us. How are you tonight, Spoon?
Yeah, give me a second.
I can't help but be distracted by that. What are those, like, police in the picture?
I know, and they might even be doing their jobs.
Well, what distracts me, honestly, as an American, is that in America, like, police kind of wear, like, this kind of black or dark blue uniform that, I don't know, it's a lot more, I don't want to just shit on Europe, but it does seem a lot more...
people conform to your ideals, so...
Well, it just seems a lot more authoritative, whereas I look over at Europe, be it in the UK or Spain, and they're wearing these, like light neon kind of like vests or whatever, and they just kind of look like, I don't know,
baggy.
No, not quite. It's more so that they look like
European
cross. They look like crossing guards at like an elementary school in America. It's like the people wearing like neon vests who hold up a stop sign, who walk in the middle of the road in the crosswalk and hold up a sign to keep cars from driving by while kids cross the street. And I don't know, it's just hard to take European cops as seriously. And maybe it's also just because I've seen too many videos of like UK cops dressed similarly, doing stuff like harassing Lord Voldemort or like enforcing wokeness. I don't know. Just that style of uniform is just very difficult for me to take seriously for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, it doesn't look imposing. It doesn't really give a presence. But I understand why they do go with the reflective vests, to tell them apart from the people they should be battening in the face and when they're doing their roadside work, because you know how stupid the average driver is.
What the American is trying to say is that the police officers in Europe should have uniforms that resemble more the SS.
Well, at least those uniforms looked sharper than that.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like,
so.
the SS had a point with that, though. Like, I don't think they should resemble the SS, because obviously the SS are fucking awful. And you shouldn't mimic their symbolism, let's say, but there is something.
No, but their style is legit. Like, I don't care what anybody says. As far as style goes, the Nazis did look swanky as hell, and their buildings were awesome. Like, Nazi architecture and style is cool. Like, I'm not saying the ideology is good. That's
nice until the bomb started dropping.
Oh yeah, but if you were to look at like the Third Reich buildings or their uniforms, they look cool. Like, screw the ideology, but their style is swanky. Gotta give them some credit for that.
I actually did take an architecture elective one architecture elective my very first semester of college, and we looked at like 3 different, I don't know, architects or whatever at the very beginning of the class, and one of them was like this like Nazi architect who was like, I don't know, obsessed with the grand scale of everything. So he did this one thing where there were a bunch of like pillars of light or something. Who is that? The Cathedral of Light. Yeah, like the guy who made that. I forget his name.
That sounds familiar.
Oh, it was Albert Speer. Yeah, and it was like the main aesthetic feature of the Nazi Party rallies in Nuremberg.
I mean, guy
in fairness to them, it was to be designed to last 1,000 years. So you can fair enough why they thought it was so grandiose.
Well, that was a bit optimistic on their part.
Well, if you look at German history, the previous one did stand for quite a while, so I can see why they are wanting to recreate an empire. Obviously, the ideology probably isn't very favorable for that, unless you think Wolfenstein is real. But as far as what they're trying to go for, they had a goal in mind, and if you're trying to do something extravagant as this will last for 1,000 years, I can't imagine you'd go half-assed. So I can't...
Holy shit.
Some of the chat's going to go, Spoon is pro-Nazi.
No, I was about to say, like, maybe they were right, because maybe according to the left, the Nazi Party never fell. It just went undercover and has secretly become this subtle part of all of Western society.
And
then I realized,
socialism.
Well, I realized in the middle of saying that, wait a minute, isn't that the story of fucking Hydra from Marvel?
Yes, but doesn't the left legitimately believe that the Nazis are still around?
Yes,
they do. Yes. They're not smart.
Look, the most important thing to remember is Hail Lobster.
Hail Lobster.
Oh yeah. I actually. Oh, fuck.
Speaking of the meaning of words, so I just want to read one of the quotes from these absolute morons that are defending these criminal immigrants. The Positive Action in Housing Charity Director Rubina Qureshi said, "The Home Office have referred to these men as illegal. Well, they are wrong, and we are now investigating legal action against the Home Office for casting such aspersions." I'm sorry, what? They're criminals who broke the law. How are they not illegal?
You don't understand their way of thinking. I mean, there's only one way to immigrate, and that's legally. When you do it illegally, you really have no fucking legs to stand on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then the idiot goes on to say, the term illegal in this context is part of the hostile environment. It is not appropriate to use it for people who have lived in the UK for several years and are part of the community. It is not appropriate to use it for people who have lived illegally in the UK for several years. Pay attention to what you're saying, you special losers.
I mean, it's also like, I mean, even on top of that, there's the whole point where they're like, where the left is always like, oh, not illegal, undocumented. And it's like, okay, well, if they're not documented, how do you know that they've been here?
Yep.
For the amount of time that they've said they've been here to begin with, even under the presumption that that is a valid argument, it's still not an argument that makes sense.
Yep.
Also, I have another word for undocumented, illegal.
Yes. And here's where it gets even dumber. The fact that they have no legal representation before means they were left vulnerable. They've been in the UK for 8 years. They clearly can't get government fucking benefits, so they've got money from somewhere. Maybe they should have thought about saving some of it for a lawyer over the 8 years they were breaking the law every single day.
I just want to say, I'm not unsympathetic to them. I can understand, why they would want to seek out, a better life, and I can understand why they would take the opportunities that are available to them. But at the same time, as a matter of ethical principle, Like, it is the responsibility of a government to enforce its own laws, and laws around border security and immigration exist for a reason, because the country is, or the government of a country is engaged in a social contract with its citizens specifically. It is meant to represent their interests, economic, cultural, before anyone else's. And it is also the case that the border might be considered to be something, as much as I hate the phrase collective ownership, in essence, the border could be considered to be, in a certain sense, publicly owned, let's say, by the citizenry of a country. And so it is within the purview of those citizens to decide on their own immigration policy.
Well, it very literally is the property of the citizenry, because the government exists through and of the people, and their power is derived from the people. Therefore, anything they do is an act of the people.
Yeah.
It seems like the politician had forgotten that a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, here's the stupid thing. Like, another quote from
I mean, well, I would be kind of hesitant in asserting that too hard, that what the government does is like the will of the people. That's getting a bit too close to, and I know this isn't what you meant, but just to kind of, I guess, be careful about saying that, because I know you didn't mean this, but that comes across a little too close to Giovanni Gentili's, like, oh, well, the state is the expression of the true essence of the people.
Oh, no.
Oh, God,
and it should be,
no.
yeah, obviously that's not what you're saying. I just want to...
I meant
it's more the Lockean principle of,
yeah,
if the government takes an action, it is by essence using the power of the people. Whether it's using the power of the people responsibly is another matter entirely.
Yeah.
But here's the quote I want to read. Yes, dawn raid vans have no place going into communities dragging innocent people from their homes. This is true. They are not categorically not criminals. Overstaying your visa is a crime. People who commit crimes are called criminals. You're an idiot.
So does this mean I can actually just go right into another country, overstay my visa time, and just be like, yeah, I live here now. Give me stuff. Give me benefits.
You're the wrong skin color.
Oh, right. What if I just smear my face with cocoa powder?
That's blackface, and that's a hate crime.
No. It's not blackface. It's brown.
No, I'm sure that's illegal too. I mean,
How,
it's
like,
England.
Well,
I don't know, the
here's
creators
thing.
of Disney or Aladdin would probably sue you.
Well, how effective can Trim do it? I mean, like, if somebody can hook him up with a connection to, I don't know, a Justin Trudeau educational seminar on the application of, like, brown body paint, then maybe Trim can pull it off convincingly.
That just means he'd be welcomed in Canada.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, also, if you wanted to get into Canada, just say that you're fighting for the CCP.
Oh, yeah, that's... I mean...
That's not even a joke. I'm pretty sure if you said that, you probably would get in. I know they're training the Chinese fighters in their airspace, which is fucking horrifying. Why are you doing that, Canada?
CCP, the worst thing to ever exist in a long
that's why he's still in power and can do blackface.
Yeah!
Because the Chinese don't like black people either.
Yeah.
Nah, PCP gets you a pretty speedy high. It's pretty chill. Oh, you meant the CCP, my bad.
Yes.
Awkward.
Look at this racist saying that Priti Patel should be deported. How dare he say that about a woman of colour? What a whitey racist.
Have you seen what a job she does? She should be deported.
Yeah.
She's shite and useless.
Well,
She doesn't do a bloody job.
No, here's the thing though, she is not properly a part of brownness or blackness or whatever.
Oh, she acts white, does she?
Yes, she has betrayed her fellow darkies for a shot at whiteness, according to these people.
Pretty useless Patel is what she's called now.
I mean,
yeah, because she is useless.
Well, it's not like they allowed it for Fagan to do anything. I mean, she was, well, apparently her parents are from Uganda, so there you go.
Oh,
It does get
and-
as a fellow African, I expect better.
Do you know the way?
Away from the immigration center. The answer is no. We'll be here anyway. Which is why they go there in great numbers, and Pretty welcomes them with open arms.
I think
Which
she
is
is
not
just
her
forced
job.
to because there's a lot of tape holding her back.
Yeah.
That's why you get Nigel Farage as PM.
Pretty nice, but
Look, we need to just straight up make a rule in every country that if you block a road without without the official approvals, you're committing a crime, and then just tell the cops need to stop being a bunch of pussies and arrest all these idiots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At least 10 people in that photo who should all be in prison and fined.
Is there a picture of people blocking the road?
Yeah, these fucking idiots. That is the road.
What are they blocking the road for?
Because to stop the
Immigration?
Muslims who were totally Muslim and not from India and Sikh, were blocking it to stop the police from arresting criminals. Because
Well, they were illegal, and the police wanted to arrest them and throw them out of the country, which is their job.
yes, and
they were
which
blocking
is
this.
surprising because take a
Why
look
aren't
at
the people arrested who were blocking the police's way?
what you expect the police in England to do their jobs properly.
Yes.
they're
Oh,
too
you sweet
busy
summer
finding
child.
old ladies. They're too busy finding old ladies.
They're too busy arresting priests for saying that Christianity is better than Islam, and they were. Yeah, but that's apparently a hate crime in England. And then there's
I don't know many
who is
people.
under
I don't know
the
many
ban.
multiracial people going to Islamic countries. They all seem to be coming to the white-run countries. I wonder why that is.
Yes, if there's such
Is it because
evil,
we have more
racist,
freedom and
horrible
prosperity in
places-
our countries? Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly, all
I've
that.
noticed that. And nobody ever mentions that. People always just say, "Oh, the Western Europeans are such horrible races." Then why does everyone come here?
Yes.
Well, it's also funny.
Why do they put up
'cause
with all that institutionalized racism, all
Wait,
this
is
abuse and hate crimes to come all the way
Now,
there?
I have this kind of conception. I could be completely wrong about this, but it seems like Europe is at least less racially diverse than America is, which makes it kind of funny to me that all these American lefties kind of fetishize Europe, and particularly fetishize the Nordic countries, not realizing what
Who
they're
have
doing.
probably
You know?
the least amount
Swear
of
to
immigration
God,
than
if
all the other
there's
ones.
one more American politician saying that a Scandinavian country is socialist, I'm going to take a plane over there and just lightly tap him on the cheek in Minecraft.
Well, it's obviously not socialist, but 50% income tax is like trash, man.
That is only if you don't have the right papers. Then it's 34.
Oh,
And
paper.
presumably, he means by papers, he means paper with 2 words on it. Fucking you. And I don't pay tax.
Glory Tarstoska.
It's a tax. It's called a tax card.
Take a look at this idiot here on the screen. He's under the immigration van. I'm sorry, but there is a simple solution to this problem. 3
Do you know what he's trying to
warnings.
do?
He's
That guy's
wrapping
trying to
his
commit
arm-
insurance fraud.
Yep. Well, there's a simple solution to morons like this. You give them 3 warnings, you lean on the horn, and then you drive off anyway.
Sounds good.
Same applies
I mean,
to
Darwin
all
Award.
the other morons.
Darwin Award.
Police vehicle going forward. Get out of the way, or just get run over. It's simple as
And
that.
what is
I
that?
have-
What does he have? Like a pride flag with him? What is that?
Yes, he does.
He probably does. Because if there's one thing that the Islamo leftists like more than anything else, it's virtue signaling.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, they're willing to die for it.
wait, is that
That's
a
the
stick?
bloodstains he wipes off his face after he commits jihad.
Of course.
Yeah. Wait, does he have duct tape over his mouth? What the fuck is... Like, can you zoom in? What the fuck is going on in this picture? I'm actually...
Is that a
The more
brain
and more-
mask?
Oh! Oh my! I actually forgot. He's wearing.
He's what?
He's wearing a mask underneath the police vehicle. I don't know how, but I actually forgot that masking was a thing, and I was just like, is he wearing fucking duct tape over his mouth as some sort of symbolic protest thing?
Oh God, I wish more leftists would wear duct tape over their mouths.
I mean,
Seriously, is that a club?
here.
Is that a flag? Is that a rainbow bowling pin? Like, what?
Yeah, it might be a rainbow scarf.
Most likely. Though I have a solution here for the police. You just point to the people in front of them and beneath them and say, they're all conservatives.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to say that the cop should have like ran that guy over after 3 warnings, but I would say 3 warnings, and then it's like, okay.
Well, no, not
you're
intentionally run him over, but given 3 warnings that the vehicle was about to move, and anyone who didn't get out of the way, well, that's their choice.
No, I mean that's just the point.
Problem.
No, that's the point where you start rounding them up, and then like imprison them for impeding police duty. No, my bad. If the courts are anything like the ones over there, there will be like lefty politicians raising bail funds for them, and like judges throwing out the cases or whatever to be woke.
But,
Wasting
on the
money.
topic of the special child under the van, Billy Blogs over in the chat says it looks like he's planting a car bomb. True. It would look like
Yeah, it kind of
that.
does. Yeah.
But
Of course.
a typical leftists are too stupid to figure out how a car bomb works. They need the Islamists for that.
Yeah.
Why we got Islam leftism?
And one other thing I want to clarify is that, there are a lot of progressive Christians, let's say, and, okay, like, I'm not saying a progressive cannot be a Christian, but they make this kind of disingenuous argument where they cite to, like, verses in the Bible where it's like, oh, like, when the stranger is in your land, like, take care of him, welcome him, be hospitable to him, right? And they use that to, like, argue immigration policy, which is kind of completely dishonest for, like, kind of a few reasons, like, kind of one of which is that, I don't know, like, kind of border enforcement wasn't as much of a thing in those days, I don't think, because,
Well,
the natural
were hardly a
difficulty...
thing back then.
Well, yeah, the natural difficulty of travel, let's say, kind of put kind of a limit on how many people could pass through or live in like a certain area. Things were a bit more culturally tight, so it's like, in general, if somebody went to a new place, like they would be passing through, or if they would stay there, they would not do so in large enough numbers, right? There wouldn't be the same level of mass migration, and on top of which, there were certain laws that would enforce the cultural standards. For example, that's why a lot of the Mosaic law exists precisely around kind of the upholding of a certain cultural aesthetic and kind of behavior. We don't have that anymore. So the integrity of our cultural standards is something, I guess, more kind of threatened in the modern day, as is mass immigration is more of a thing in the modern day as well. And, it's also, assimilationism is something that finds itself within the Christian tradition. If you've ever heard the phrase, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, that's actually a proverb attributed to Saint Ambrose, like a bishop in the 4th century of the Catholic Church.
Sounds like a very logical individual. I wish I could.
Right.
Indeed. So one thing I noticed.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to finish.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's also kind of one of those things where you have, the left uses verses like treat the stranger in your land well, help the poor, etc., to make arguments for governmental policy. But I think the dishonest thing about that is that all of these commands are given to the individual. They are meant to be personal sacrifices or acts of charity on the individual's part. So it's dishonest to use that to argue that a person can decide to make sacrifices from what belongs to another person. Like, it's, a command to charity is not moral license to take somebody's money from them and do a thing, and a commandment towards treating an immigrant well, or to treating a foreigner well, is not license to unilaterally make the decision to bring somebody across the border when the border is something that is more or less collectively owned by the people. So it's kind of like it's this abstraction of it to the political level that I think is like completely inappropriate and disingenuous. I think it can be debated, but like broadly speaking, arguing that the Bible makes argument for political policy, I think, is just kind of baseless because the Bible was not written for a people who were involved in democratic government, so it is not a document on statecraft.
No,
Well,
they,
there's one
they
thing
also.
I was gonna say one quick thing though about that. When you do charity with somebody else's property or stuff, that is not charity in my opinion. That is theft if it's against their will. Enforced charity isn't charity.
No, it's also a really strange way of making that argument because it doesn't even seem to imply what they're suggesting it does, because it's saying that treat the immigrant in your treat the foreigner in your lands. Okay, so that implies that the foreigner crossed the border and has a right to be there. And if they have the right to be there because they were let through the border, you should treat them with charity. Like, I could imagine maybe making an argument from that legal immigrants should have access to welfare, but the idea that we should just let everyone in is phenomenally stupid in and of itself. I mean, there's enough wars in the Bible where they're conquering that just the concept doesn't make sense anyway. Because the Israelites were very, very, very into a little bit of conquest, like, to expand their territory. And if territory was meaningless, why would they bother?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, kind of saying that you ought to treat the foreigner that is here well and be hospitable isn't, like, the same thing as a statement of whether or not they ought to be here, I guess.
Exactly. Anything else on the immigration question, or should we move to the next topic?
Answer is do it legally or don't even bother.
Hi, I hope you enjoyed this segment from the Sultans of Shadilay podcast.
If you like this segment, please click like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the full podcast in the description below.